So let's get started with this question from Lewis Terry, please. Lewis Terry.
Is Donald Trump a worthy recipient of Time magazine's Person of the Year?
Right, Time magazine every year makes somebody the Person of the Year or the person who's had the greatest influence, for better or worse. Is he a worthy recipient? Nigel Farage.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, the whole point of the prize is whether Time magazine think you're a force for good or a force for bad, and there aren't many shades of grey in terms of the way people look at Donald Trump. Either way, he's made the most dramatic impact on politics this year. Everybody thought it was literally impossible for him even to win the nomination, to get through the primaries. He did, and the day before the election, you know, the New York Times said there was a 97% probability that Hillary Clinton would win. He stunned everybody. He's taking over as president on the 20th of January. And not only do I think he's a worthy recipient of Time magazine's Person of the Year, I think he will also, by this time next year, surprise all of you by just how popular and good a president he's going to be.
OK. Of course, it is influence, not a good influence or a bad influence that they choose. Hitler and Stalin were both chosen as...
Yes, and Churchill won.
Yes.
No, but I mean, he's been, you know, it is an astonishing thing that this man has become president. Well,
is that the choice you face?
No, I don't think it is. No, I mean, the thing is, I do know Trump. I did support Trump in the campaign. I spoke with him on a platform. I completely accept, you know, that he says things that shock everybody. But he also apologises, which is interesting. Very few people in politics ever apologise. He rode back on that Muslim comment in quite a big way. He apologised for locker room talk. I agree with you. It was unacceptable. But he has shown he's able to say, I'm sorry, I went too far. As far as our relationship with him is concerned, just remember this.
Our or your?
Our relationship as a country. As a country.
Right, yeah.
This is a strong Anglophile president of the USA. He likes this country, he admires this country, he wants us to get back to having an even, well, not just a special relationship, an even better one, starting with a free trade deal. And I think this government, having been so rude about him, virtually every cabinet member was rude about him during the campaign, I think that they need to eat some humble pie, go and see him as quickly as they can, and let's get cracking with a new relationship.
He likes Russia quite a lot.
Well, it's interesting.
Putin's politics.
He doesn't want to go to war with Russia, and it's very interesting that we have Hillary, we have the European Union, we have the political class in this country all want Putin to be the enemy. Very keen to go on provoking Putin. I wouldn't want to live in Putin's Russia any more than you would, but I do think Trump's idea, he'll get on a plane, well, his plane, of course, and he will go to Moscow and sit down and talk with people. That is a much better way to deal with international affairs than to provoke Russia by trying to get the Ukraine to join the EU and NATO.
All right.
I think we've made some very bad mistakes
Nigel,
here.
thank you very much. Sarah Wallace, I want to bring you in.
Just bringing it back to this about the locker room talk and everything like that. Yes, Trump has said one thing and he's done another. Politicians have been doing this for hundreds of years. They always will. The difference with Trump is that he's honest about it, and like Nigel just said, he apologises when he gets it wrong.
OK, and let's go on to the other topic of the year, Oscar Huxley.
Do you think a deal for Brexit could realistically be achieved in 2 years?
Can the deal be achieved in 2 years, which is what the leaders of the negotiations in Europe are saying it has to be? Is it too complicated? All right, well, Nigel Farage, do things that are too serious not become divisive?
I mean, 6 months have nearly gone by since the referendum. We've wasted all this time already. You know, had the Prime Minister shown real leadership, triggered Article 50, we wouldn't be going through court cases. We'd actually be getting on with the process. And my concern is that we trigger Article 50 in March. That's what the House of Commons agreed to do. And if we spend 2 years negotiating this, that'll be another net £20 billion we paid away. It'll be another, at current rates, at least 500,000 people who come to settle in this country, net. But more crucially, it'll be lost opportunities. I talked about America earlier. There are 24 countries since we left the EU that have come to us and said, we want to have a trade deal with the United Kingdom. It's very difficult for us to do any of that whilst we're going through this process. So I would say this, if we wanted to, we could leave in 2 weeks. If we wanted to. We could just say, that's it, we're leaving, we'll trade with you on WTO rules. The reason it's going to take a long time is because my impression is that this government and most people in Parliament want us to stay in the single market. And I think we're going to finish up in the spring of 19, effectively with a Norwegian-type deal, which is not what the people of this country voted for. But that, I think, is where it's going to go.
So, Nigel Farage, when you said, as you did, a 52-48 result would be unfinished business...
I didn't for me, no. I said within the Conservative Party, it would be unfinished business. What was clear...
Is it... Sorry, no, my question isn't... Yeah. My question is, right, maybe you did or didn't say that, yeah. But the question is whether, if that's so, what you're saying now, which is that it's going to be a Norwegian-style deal, which is not what we wanted, what's going to happen then?
Well, I think that if we don't get our fishing waters back, we don't get our passports back, we don't get away from the European Court of Justice having the ability to rule on our businesses, our industries, and if we don't get back the ability to make our own trade deals, then I think the 2020 general election could well be a very big replay of this referendum, because I think the one thing I do know, and yes, of course, there were all sorts of things said on both sides of the argument. The temperature got raised to a level we've never seen in this country. What I do know is the 17.5 million people that voted for it, despite being told we'd fall off a cliff and terrible things would happen to us, they voted for it because they meant it. And I think they are not going to change their mind on this. So I hope that the local MP here gives us some real leadership, because frankly, in the first few months, we've had precious little. And if she tells us clearly that we're not just leaving the European Union, we're leaving the single market, because that's what people voted for, I would then be very reassured, and the next general election would be more or less business as usual. Right. But that's not where I think it's going.
All right. I said we were in Maidenhead, which is, of course, Theresa May's constituency.
I voted leave, OK? It doesn't matter what politician there was out there. I did not want to be part of the EU any longer. I don't like dictatorship. I think we should make our own decisions, and we should trade with whoever we like and allow them to trade with us if we accept them.
OK. Yes, thank you. Right. Roy Horne, let's have your question. Roy Horne.
Is it time to raise basic rate income tax to improve the NHS and our public services?
Sarah Wallace. Nigel Farage.
It doesn't work like that, Roy. You know, just because you pay tuppence extra on whether it's the low rate of tax or 10pence on the top rate of tax does not mean that money will go directly to the National Health Service or social care. The way it works is the money goes into the middle, it comes out, and at the minute, we still have a gap of between 70 and 80 billion pounds every year. That's remarkable. One of the most uncommented things in British politics over the last few years is that in the 5 years of the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition, our national debt, that's the thing we've been building up ever since we fought Napoleon, our national debt doubled in those 5 years. So are there things we can do? Well, we could cut taxes, we could cut corporation taxes and get a lot more companies relocating here. It sounds today like McDonald's may well be relocating to this country. So things we can do...
Great jobs.
Well, do you want
jobs
them,
for everybody.
Do you want them
Mine's
paying
a Big Mac.
Do you want them paying their corporate taxes in Switzerland, in Luxembourg, in Dublin, or in this country? And the answer is, let's get those big firms paying taxes.
That's been the whole
here.
policy we've followed for years, and that's why
we
people got seriously poor and voted for you, weirdly.
Well, we haven't done that. We haven't done that. We haven't done that. We ceded tax sovereignty, and we allowed big corporations to pay tax in Ireland or Luxembourg, and what we ought to be doing is being competitive. But honestly, the real answer to the question is that I don't think anyone knows how to deal with this. You know, Blair back in '97 thought, you know, think the unthinkable about pensions, about health provision. He ducked it, and the truth is we're living longer. We're all living healthier lifestyles, I'm told, and I don't think anyone really has got a clue how on earth we're going to give people pensions and healthcare 50 years from now.
Your party, you flirted with the idea of an insurance-based system originally, and then you went off it, didn't you?
Well, I looked at what the French were doing, and the French were definitely getting better bang for their buck with their health system. So I think, you know, there are lots of things about Europe that are wonderful and we can perhaps learn from. And maybe, if other health systems are better than ours in terms of delivery, we should learn from it.
We'll hear from Louise about the American one in a moment. I want to hear from the woman at the back there. I'll come to you, Richard. Yes, woman with spectacles at the very, very back. Yes.
I just wanted to take Nigel Farage up on his corporation tax point.
Yeah.
I run a business. I would happily pay more corporation tax. And I think the rich should be taxed more. It's completely bonkers that you want to make it easier for people to get rich instead of harder.
Well, I don't like these big companies doing business in this country but not paying their taxes in this country because they've been lured away to other parts of Europe.
But you know what? We
and I
don't
want them to pay
those
it
people
here.
in our country. If people are going to leave the country because they're not going to pay our taxes, let them go.
Well, we are living...
They're not civilised.
We are living in this, as Will said, we're living in this global world. We have to compete. Simple as that.
I want to go to the... You think a basic rate of income tax should be increased?
I don't think it's just basic rate tax. That brings in a huge tax take. I think it's the higher rate taxes as well. And I accept all the points the panel have made regarding the evasion of tax and the fact you actually need a new tax to deal with corporations, a sort of tax which they can only set against UK corporation tax. But I must say, the only person on your panel tonight who can change this is Sarah Willison. And she is crying a lot of crocodile tears over the NHS. The NHS needs money. Stop giving us this sort of rhetoric. Start finding more money.
What are her crocodile tears? You accuse her of hypocrisy by saying she's...
I do. She will sit there and tell us how difficult it is for the NHS to be run and how many people need to be treated. We know the demand of this equation. The Tories, Sarah Wollaston is in that group, are not providing the cash to meet that demand.
All right, Sarah,
it's as simple as that.
answer him and then I'll come to you.
The only organisation I've worked in where everybody I've come across is genuinely focused on delivering the objective of that organisation. I've served in the army, and that was mostly the case in the army, but not universally. In the NHS it is. And with 98% of trust in deficit, or I forget the exact number, that's not simply a question of bad management. There is not enough money, and I spend all of my days trying to work out how we can deliver the care that we need to deliver with what diminishing amounts of money we have. We need more money.
And how... How do you think that more money should be got? By increasing taxation or by taking it from other
I
budgets?
don't know enough about tax mechanisms, but there are two people on the panel that are in a position to change it.
Well, once we've left the European Union...
You're not one of them.
We won't have.
I mean, a new hospital every week wouldn't be a bad start, would it? So let's get on with Article 50, and then we can build more hospitals.
But do you, Nigel Farage, were you a supporter of the 350
million? No, I certainly
thing?
wasn't. It was stupid. They should have put 200 million a week, which would have been factually absolutely correct and big enough to persuade people there were big savings to be made.
Why did the people wanting Brexit exaggerate?
They didn't need to.
Why did they?
Oh, don't ask me. The inside the mind of Tory politicians, I don't quite get it. But it was a big mistake. As I say, whether it was 350 or 200 was irrelevant, really. It was to say to people, we'll make big savings. But it was a mistake, yeah.
Deborah Dibb, please. Deborah Dibb.
Thank you. Is Boris Johnson too much of a loose cannon to be Foreign Secretary?
Well, I'm feeling as confused right now as Boris is most days. I find myself in total agreement with Will Self and Louise Mensch about Saudi Arabia. Just back in October, you know, Boris was saying what wonderful trade we had with Saudi Arabia. And the other point that wasn't made is that, you know, during all the terrible things that have been happening in the Middle East, the refugee crisis, the displaced people's crisis, do you know how many people Saudi Arabia have taken? Not one. Not one. And yet, they're about to fund 200 new mosques in Germany. You may say that's fine, but when you realise it's the Saudis that have pushed Wahhabism, it's the Saudis that have pushed the burqa, it's the Saudis that have pushed the extreme form of Islam that is causing the problem. So I agree with you on that.
And you might just answer about Putin.
Oh, look, the point is this. I said already in this programme to the lady up there, I would not want to live in Putin's Russia. I completely understand that, you know, journalists like you who tweet a lot, I mean, you wouldn't last long over there, you know, I get all that. But what I am saying is, I do think our foreign policy of provoking him has been mistaken. I've no
Not provoking him.
But
he's
the problem
bombing hospitals in Aleppo. He's killing children right now, and you're sucking up to him.
No, obviously not doing that. But I am saying we made a major strategic error with the Ukraine. We helped to topple a democratically elected leader by trying to draw the Ukraine into our orbit, and I think we should stop provoking Putin, start talking to him. But I don't want him as a friend, but neither do I want to go to war with him. But the question, is Boris Johnson too much of a loose cannon to be... Well, as an individual, clearly he is. But what I'd like to know is, what does he stand for? What does he stand for? We haven't really heard, other than encouraging people to protest outside the embassy, the Russian embassy.
Brexit, maybe? Did he stand for Brexit?
I saw him getting off the Eurostar this week, and he looked a bit bewildered, I've got to tell you.
Did he stand for Brexit during the campaign, or are you saying he didn't really stand for Brexit?
He did stand for Brexit in the campaign, and now we hear he's briefing embassies that he supports free movement. So we need some clarity.
Earlier, Nigel Farage said that the Saudi Arabians were funding mosques in Germany, and then straight away talked about Islamophobia. Isn't blasé comments like that the reason why people are feeling ostracised from society and moving towards extremist groups?
No. I have never, ever wanted, and there are some politicians in Europe that do, I do not want us to go to war with Islam, far from it. I want us to get on in this country. The damage that has been done by the Saudis pushing a very extreme form of Islam has done more harm than anything else.
You
I
in
promise
spectacles, then I come both sides here. Yeah, I'll come to you. A quick point, if you would, because...